Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on short notice this evening. The purpose of the availability here is we wanted to speak tonight, which I am sure is already public knowledge. We were informed earlier this evening after a lengthy discussion and negotiation that Johnny Gaudreau was going to hit free agency, and he'll be testing the market and entering the free agency market tomorrow. It's a disappointing day, to say the very least. I sat in front of you, those that are local here, at the end of our season, and I think my line and my comment was we would move heaven and earth. I can assure our fans that we have done everything possible to bring John and keep John in Calgary. I want to wish John, his family, his wife Meredith. John's going to be a dad in the upcoming months. I want to wish him and his family all the very, very best. He gave us 8 great years here, 8 wonderful years, and a lot of memories. And I can tell you it's difficult right now. It's difficult. And the hard part of this business is we do have to move on. We do have to move on. We do that with nothing but great memories of John, his time here. I had a good long discussion with John. It was an emotional one. And as I said earlier, I want to thank our ownership group, led by Murray Edwards, our management team. We did everything possible to keep John here. And I don't want to speak for John, and I won't speak for John, but it is my strong belief that this was a family decision. And I respect that fully. That's something that it certainly is, John has every right. And we have nothing but respect for John, the player, and John, the person. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
All right, we'll take questions here. Please use the raise your hand function once called upon. Ask your question, then followed by muting yourself so we can get a clear answer. So please use the raise your hand function. We'll start with Moses Waldo. Moses, go ahead.
Thanks, Zeldin. Just hearing your voice, Brad, it must have been tough and an emotional one for you as well. And of course, it sounds like Johnny. What are some of the things now that you're going to have to do to kind of replace that, if you really can? I imagine it's pretty hard to, considering the production and what he's done over the last few years. But what are some of the steps now that you're looking for, considering what else is out there in the market?
Well, we'll regroup. You're not going out and signing a player to replace John. That's something, Moses, that we'll look at as an organization, as a management team, and make the best decisions we can. The wrong move right now, I can tell you, is to knee-jerk reaction and just try to rush out and replace the player with the wrong response. So we just got to take a deep breath. It's been a long process. Been a long couple of days, and but at the end of the day, too, we need to move forward, and we intend to do that.
Eric Francis. Eric, go ahead.
Brad, did you obviously you contemplated it, but did you attempt to try to trade his rights?
No, that wasn't an option.
Okay, how close were you to coming up with a deal? In your mind, were you guys close?
You know what? I felt there was a deal to do there, Eric. At the end of the day, when it gets to the final decision, we wouldn't have been going through the process if we didn't think there was a deal to be done. I firmly believe both sides you go into it with the belief that everybody's well-intentioned, and I think that was the case. And we felt there was a deal to be done. At the end of the day, there's a final decision that gets to be made, and it was made, and John has every right to make that decision. But as I said, this isn't one that was a dollars decision. And there's nothing, I firmly believe there's nothing more we could have done. We respect it. It's not the decision we wanted to hear, but we respect it.
So if this wasn't a dollars decision and there was nothing that could have been done on your behalf, you know, I think a lot of fans are going to be asking why Johnny didn't inform you earlier that he was going to make this move.
I think this was a real hard decision for John. Eric, I don't want to put words in his mouth. As I said, I think everybody operated with the right intentions. The end of the day, the player gets to make a decision, and he made one.
Last question, will you, is there any chance that you could revisit this tomorrow? I mean, you test free agency, maybe he doesn't see what he likes or he circles back, or is this definitely the end of the line for Johnny as a Flame?
Yeah, I don't anticipate that.
Okay. Thanks, Brad.
Okay, we'll go to Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, go ahead.
Unmute myself here. Brad, if you're able to say, can you say that from the offer you made after the season to the very last few hours here, how many different versions you put in front of him?
You know what, Pierre, I know there's always lots of speculation. I've never talked publicly about dollars or contract negotiations. I don't think that's fair to anyone. I don't think it's fair to the player. Other than to say we did what, from a financial perspective, we did everything we felt we could do. This was not a situation where there wasn't enough money in the deal. But I'm not going to get into the figures.
Right. And just as a quick follow, easy to play armchair quarterback, of course. But you know, it sounds like Johnny and his representative didn't want to negotiate during the season, which I think everyone has acknowledged. So that's why you picked it back up after the year ended. But looking back, did you fear that being a bit of a red flag, or you still felt like, hey, you know, there's lots of time after the season ends?
Well, listen, everybody can Monday morning quarterback anything, and that's part of his job. You know, lots of people have the solutions after the fact. At the end of the day, we made the decision to keep John, to negotiate with him when his side wanted to have those discussions. We respected his wishes in that. We were operating good faith on both sides. It's our belief, and like I said, once that window opened, that we had those discussions, we tried to do everything we possibly could to you know, convince him, and whether it be through financial means and otherwise, to remain here. So sure, there's going to be lots of, and I'm not going to get into all the nits, and you know, people can go back in history and say you should have done this, you should have done that. You know, we made the decision. You understand risk when you go into these decisions. You know, it ended the way it ended.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Ryan Leslie. Ryan, go ahead.
Tree, you mentioned the emotional side of the conversation, and given that, you know, Flames fans are now going to say goodbye to that player, I guess, just can you give us a sense of what John may have relayed to you from a standpoint of his time in Calgary, and, you know, in some of that conversation, what being a Flame meant to him?
Well, I mean, a lot of it I'll just keep between us. I mean, he was very appreciative of the organization. He was very appreciative of the fans. He was very appreciative of how he was treated. You know, his teammates. We developed a relationship with these players. We've been with them a long time, and he's a hell of a player. So it's hard, and I know it's hard for him too. If it was easy, I don't think he'd have been agonizing over it. So, you know, a lot of it will a lot of that stuff, I'll stay between us, but Yeah, it was a hard decision for him. This wasn't something that it weighed on him, and ultimately, you know, he chose what he felt was best for him and his family, and all you can do is respect it.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Salam Balji. Salam, go ahead.
Hey, Brad. Wondering, during the negotiation process, were you talking to Johnny directly a lot, or was this always you dealing with his agents? I know sometimes the managers do get that one-on-one time with the player, and if you were talking to him, what was he conveying to you during the negotiation process itself?
I talked to John. Again, I'm not going to get into what we talked about during the process. Players have their representatives for the reason to handle this part of the business. So Lewis and I had lots of discussion. I spoke to John throughout the process as well.
We'll take a few follow-up questions here. Moses Waldo.
Thanks, sir. It seems evident, Brad, that there's a mutual respect amongst both of you. But I can't help but, at least from this feeling, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but that you're taken aback by the decision. Is that safe to say? And can you elaborate on that?
Sorry, Moses, what was you cut out on me?
Oh, no worries. I'm just, in terms of the mutual respect, it seems that it's evident. But I'm curious to know, just by the sounds of your voice and just and how you're talking, it seems like you were taken aback. And I'm just wondering if that was the case, just for him deciding to test the free agency market.
Taken aback. I was disappointed. You got a top player that is not going to come back. So I don't know if taken aback is the right approach or is the right word. Thoroughly disappointed. I don't know how you can not be, but we have to move forward. And this is the business we're in. But certainly our intention, Moses, it's why we went through the negotiation. It's why we've done all the things that we've done is to have John here. So you're disappointed. So that's probably, very disappointed is probably the best terminology I would use.
Okay, we'll take a couple more here. Eric Francis, go ahead.
Brad, you talked about not having a knee-jerk reaction, but things move quickly at this time of year. Do you anticipate being a busy man tomorrow?
Well, we've got to make some calls, but again, it's you don't just go out and spend and sign somebody just for the sake of signing them. We'll look at the market. If there's something there that makes sense for us, and fits for us, then we certainly will look at it. This might be a time to be patient too. We'll see. I can't predict, Derek, and say what we will or won't do. You prepare for every eventuality, and certainly this was one of the eventualities that could happen. Now, the reality of it is if John made the decision he made, we've been looking at other things prior to this, just in case. Now, whether that be through the trade market, some of those things, there's not fits. You don't have what the team moving a player is looking for. But just to say today we've gotten this news and now we've just got to go sign player X just because, I think we've got to be careful of that. So probably the best way of saying I'm not sure yet. We've had lots of discussions. We'll see over the course of certainly tomorrow and the next few days what happens.
And just I know this is all about Johnny, but any update on Matthew Tkachuk, and are you worried that this news will affect his situation?
No news on Matthew. I've been in regular communication with his representative, and we just, like everything else, we will see. We'll see what the days ahead bring.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we'll end off here with Haley Salvian, then we'll end with Pat Steinberg.
Hey, Brad, this time of year in the off season, you always talk about, doing what you can to make your team better. How can you make your group better with the subtraction of someone like Johnny? Or can you just not allow yourself to think that way?
Well, you have to, I mean, you have to move forward, right? So you've lost a really good player. You have to move forward here. But if you're sitting around tomorrow and thinking we're going to fix all our issues tomorrow morning or tomorrow, that's not the way you do it. You have to take some time. You have to take a look at things, and you have to be smart in your decisions. So you don't go and pick somebody off the tree tomorrow to replace Johnny's offense and what he did with our team. But you also have to move forward. This is you go through adversity in life, and it's how you deal with it. So we're going to pick ourselves up, and we've got a lot of really good players, and we're gonna find a path forward here that makes the most sense for us. But tomorrow isn't about signing one guy that replaces Johnny.
Final question, Pat Steinberg.
Brad, just over the last number of weeks, how much did this kind of stall or hold up any other business that you were attempting to do, waiting on the answer from Johnny?
Well, listen, when you're dealing with a negotiation in the contract the size of this one, it limits you from going out. I think it's it'd be common sense to think that before you spend anywhere else, you got to know what this number was going to come in at. You had ranges. But having said that, Pat, we've been in touch with the other players. Those all got to make sense with or without John. It doesn't necessarily mean you can go over what you feel fits, regardless of who is here, or who was signed or who wasn't signed. So they all have their own individual negotiation process, but certainly getting a sense of where John was going to be. It was, we weren't rushing out to finalize anything, but we have a sense of where those are. But they certainly have to make sense. Because John has made the decision he's made, it doesn't necessarily mean that you overdo things in another area. So we've stayed in touch with those players. We'll continue to do so, and we'll see where that takes us.